Okay. Welcome panelists to our second graduate panel for fall semester 2017. Thank you for being here and sharing your experiences. Before we get started, I'll give a rundown of what we're going to do tonight, and that is go through questions that each of you will answer, and then leave some time at the end for a general Q&A with our audience, our students. And again, let's leave a little time for them to fill out the evaluation. So anyone has any questions or concerns, make sure to bring it up. You could ask me. But in front of you is the handout. So I'm going to go over it, and you could keep this for reference in case you want to connect further with our wonderful panelists. So here, oh, you're sitting in order. Okay, yes, I knew I was planning that. Okay, so Rosemary Guillen received a BS in Community Health Sciences at CSU Dominguez Hills in spring 2016. As an undergrad, Rosemary was a Sally Casanova and Ronald E. McNair Scholar Student, received numerous grants and travel awards for independent research on child immunization and child car seat safety, presented oral and poster presentations at dozens of national conferences across the U.S. since 2014, started an MPH program here at CSUF in fall 2016, currently in the second year of the program, has been a graduate assistant since first semester, and working with different health science faculty and staff, performing different duties, such as grading exams and assignments. Currently a program assistant for the McNair Scholars Program here at CSUF, and expected to graduate spring 2019. Email address if you want to connect. Next up, we have Kiona Killingsworth, attended Long Beach City College and received AA in Communications Studies, then transferred here to CSUF in spring 2015 and graduated in May with a BA in Communicative Disorders. Was drawn to communicative disorders due to relationship between culture, language, and phenomenon of communication. Was a literacy tutor that worked with children on speech disorders. Current first year in speech language pathology grad program at CSUF. Goal is to become medical speech language pathologist working in hospitals, and took part in Allied Health Academy HCOP programming with me. So thank you. Bernice Gomez graduated from CSUF in 2017 with a BS in Human Services, currently first year of social work master's program here, and working as a mental health coach for a social rehabilitation program for ages 18 to 24, addressing psychotic disorders and promoting a healthy mental well-being. Worked in social services programs and OC, such as performing ABA behavioral therapy, assisted victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse. Spends most of her time as a confirmation instructor for high school students at a local church. Also participated in programs by us, the AHA, HCOP, as a student. So let's give them a round of applause. Okay, so do you mind if I ask you in order? This way? Sorry, Rosie. Yes, okay. As long as everyone's okay. Or the previous panelist changed it up every time. Okay? Okay. All right, first question. What do you do or hope to do, and how have things such as health disparities or family and community influences affected you?
Well, as you read already with the bio, I'm really into childhood immunization research. That's my baby since undergrad, and I hope to somehow get into parents' brains. Like, you need to vaccinate your child because it's not only for their safety, it's for the safety of everyone else in the community around them. Main goal. And obviously, we've all heard of like the recent measles outbreaks and pertussis and all these other all these other issues that are going on because of non-vaccination. So there are lots of reasons why. So obviously for health disparities, there are parents with lack of knowledge on vaccines, or maybe they don't have resources to vaccinate or don't know that there are low or free clinics that offer that. So I try to help parents as well.
Thank you. And the second part of that question, how have any outside factors influenced you, such as health disparities, your own family, your own community, or outside community?
I would say personally, my daughter has been a great influence on that because she has cancer. So she is one of those people who need the protection of everyone around her to be vaccinated for her to be safe and alive from those infectious diseases.
I'm not too sure what I want to do yet. I'm leaning towards medical, but there's just like a lot of stuff that we haven't dove into in undergrad. So now that I'm in grad, there's other classes we need to take, like dysphagia and like stuff that has to do with motor and speech. So I'm waiting to get to that, but I'm leaning more towards like an outpatient or inpatient kind of thing. My backup is like schools, but and influences, I think like my family, because I see how much they help people, so I was like, oh, I want to help people too. But yeah, mostly towards medical.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
So what do I want to do? I think my end goal after grad school is I would like to open up my own shelter home. And I would like to do the population for the child abuse. I think like being in the field for a while now like has really opened up my eyes and like seeing the disparities also like in the families but also in the community. And then also I also want to go into the prevention side as well, not only with the parents but also with the community. Influences, I think the person who has influenced me unconsciously has been my mother. She's always like up to helping like anybody who she feels that that is experiencing some type of I say like either difficulty or any emotional distress. She's always there. So growing up is seeing that from her has influenced me to go on the social work route.
Yeah. If you need me to repeat something, I'll go to this. Second question, please describe your career path thus far that can encompass different jobs you've had, different schooling, or any detours that came.
Well, originally I was a nursing major, so I volunteered at different community colleges in my local area, and that's where I found my interest in childhood immunizations. When I worked in the maternity ward, I found that a lot of the new moms, especially ones who were very young and having their first kids, they didn't want to vaccinate. So me being nosy Rosie, I just wanted to just find out why, even though that wasn't part of my job. And then I transferred over from a community college, and I went to Dominguez Hills for my undergrad, and I realized, well, I can actually do research on this topic. So that's where the research portion came in. And I got my BS in health sciences, emphasizing on all of that. Obviously, I'm in the MPH program, and I want to go towards a PhD, focusing on maternal and child health. But obviously, PhD programs, just like master's programs, varies with universities, like different topics, different titles with different universities. But in the just maternal and child health is my career path. Did I answer it?
Yeah. I mean, it helps to hear the detours and changes. And,
Right.
because it's just so natural that happens. But to hear it, to hear people's experiences really just affirms like, things change and
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, you discover new things about yourself and you really grow. So thank you.
Yeah, the same. I was a nursing major. Yeah, so I stayed at community college for 4 years. I didn't mean to do that. It just happened. Because the first 2 years, I tried to get into their associate's nursing program. I applied like twice. It just wasn't working out. So I was like, okay, do I really want to do this? Like I took all the classes and everything. So then I switched to communication studies and dance. And going through the communication classes, I took a cultural communication class, and that's when I started learning about like how language influences or impacts culture. I was like, oh, like what about people who can't like communicate? Like how do they share their culture? Like how do they like feel attached to their in-group if they can't really communicate? So then I kind of did some research and found out about communicative studies, speech language pathology, and what they can do with their education. So I just transferred here to get my bachelor's. Then during undergraduate, I did like volunteer work at a nonprofit, Providence Speech Language Hearing Center. And I just worked with kids, like just to get a sense of how it is to be a therapist and work with a speech language pathologist. I really liked it. Then a part of Allied Health, I did the internship with Dr. Science, who's a professor. And that was like my research side of communicative disorders. Yeah, but that's mostly how it went from like community to here.
Thank you. And yeah, like that hands-on experience does like lead you to
So I began as a psychology major, but like 2 years in at a community college, I found out that I wasn't really that interested in psychology. And so then I switched to human services, and then there, like, I loved human services. So then I transferred here in 2015 as a human service major. But I always knew that I wanted to be in, like, I would say like in that helping profession, but I didn't know what was the purpose of it all. So I began to volunteer for CSP. I did this sexual assault training with them, and I applied to be one of their volunteers, and I was there for over like 2 years, and I really loved the experience there. So the first day of the training, like I knew this field was for me. So after that, I did more volunteer work at shelter homes. So I was a human options at Laura's house, and so like the more field-on experience that I got, it was just it was more validating to me that this field was the correct one. I didn't really do any tours ever since like I began school. I knew that I wanted to help people, but I was just not sure like in what. So what was it again? For my jobs, I began working as a TA for school too. I thought that I wanted to be a elementary teacher, but after doing that, I realized that I love kids, but not to be their teacher like every day, be with them all the time. So, so then I was like, okay, well, this is great, but I don't want to like be being with them every single day, like all day. So then from there, I worked at school at Santa Ana College, and I was at the counseling center there, but I didn't really like the whole administration part of it. Like I wanted to be in more of like the in sessions with the students. But so then from there, I began to work in the field. I worked for Laura Cells at the courthouse. We would do the restraining orders there. And then I also worked for Human Options in their hotline. And so I was there for some time. And now I'm at a social rehabilitation house. I really like it there. I have one-on-one, not contact with them, but I'm able to do like more of like the case management side of the clinical aspect. And then for my internship right now too, I'm also I'm doing therapy with child abuse kids. So that's like really, it's been a great experience. I would say the experience of it all, and also just like being there, it's very validating to me that I'm in this field, and this is a field that I want to continue on further as well.
Thank you. Writing a note. And follow up. Did you? I was going to ask a follow up too. Go ahead.
Just because I think something was left out. Were there any jobs that you all held that were not directly related? I mean, that kind of goes along with the detours, but like, kind of just to live.
Customer service, just like regular retail. Yeah, I loved customer service because I like interacting with people, but it's like, I need to do something more. So that's the main thing that I'm trying to steer away from now.
How long were you doing that?
Most of my adult life, but I guess before I entered the undergrad program. And after undergrad, I've just been doing research stuff. Now I'm a graduate assistant. I work at the McNair Scholar's Office. It's more, my positions are more geared toward my future end goal. So I'm trying to steer away from what I used to do and what I want to do in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, same, just like customer service stuff. When I like transferred to start working, so like 2015, it's just like to pay bills. Like I do like sometimes, because it's a movie theater, so I get customers like who are hard of hearing or deaf, and they use closed captioning devices or assistive listening devices. So I get to interact with people that I would like work with, you know, in the future, people that can really communicate, and that's like what to communicate with them. So I feel like just the experience getting to interact with those kind of people, that yeah, it's just like to pay bills.
I've had two jobs that I used to work at Subway and Bloomingdale's. They've all been great experiences, but I don't like to work in either of those, only because like it's not filling. Like I feel that the jobs that I have in the field are like, they're very rewarding, and I'm there only because like that's my passion. But the other jobs that are not in the field, like it's a drag. It was for me, like I drag myself to go to work. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's just what it is, and I just had I had to like go through that until I was able to get the experiences to work in the field.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to elaborate more on the detours part also, because that's just a very, again, an honest part of life that a lot of people go through. And my follow-up was like, how did you know like what you liked and didn't like? And that's based on experiences and jobs and detours. where you learned that kind of, where you became cognizant of those things, of like, oh, I don't like doing this, and feel like I really want to do this type of work that's fulfilling for me after going through certain experiences. So thank you for sharing that. Third question, as an individual, how has your background influenced your career choice? So it's different from the very first question of, external influences, but how has your own personal background affected where you're at now for grad school and for your career?
I guess for me, even though it's personal, it's still environmental. Like I grew up in South LA, in like the middle of the ghetto, like on Florence and Normandy where the riot started. And so I've always had like this internal drive, like I have to get the hell out of here. So how am I gonna get myself out of here? And I've always been like a nerd at school, even as an elementary school student. I liked the attention that I got when I would get A's, and I noticed that I would get like extra time to play if I did extra work or whatever. So I had that reward already implanted in myself and as well as my teachers growing up. And I think that's influenced me a lot getting to where I am now. And I've just, like, I have this mentality, I'm the only person who can get a degree for me. Anyone and everyone else can give me everything in life. Like, if I wanted to, I can ask for money from anyone and they'll give it to me. If I don't have shelter, someone could provide a house for me. Someone could provide this, someone could provide this. But who's gonna give me a degree in my name? I'm the only one who can do that. So that's like my life goal. I need to do this for myself, now for my kids as well, but even just for myself. Like I need to prove to myself, like I can do this. I can go all the way.
I think for me, just seeing like my family struggle and being like one of the people that actually went to college, actually graduated, that was really motivation for me, just like to make them proud, you know. Yeah, I feel like also my background like will help me like in the clinical like side, because like you're going to interact with people that are culturally different. So I feel like me like being culturally different from like some people, like everyone's different, but like being like Black, I feel like because many in our classes that people speak like different dialects, different languages. And I know that people will like say stuff about the way that I spoke when I was young. So I think my background, it will help me like interact with people that are probably bilingual or like just like they feel like self-conscious about the way they speak. And I will be able to relate with that, like from me growing up, like seeing how I was treated for how I spoke. I feel like that will help me in the job side. But yeah, just seeing my family like struggle, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to college, and they support me like even now. So yeah, that was like motivation for me.
So I think for me, I've had a lot of like motivations and struggles for sure. So I'm the first in the family to go to college and graduate. So prior to that, it was really hard for me only because like after high school, I didn't really know like where to go or like how to apply to college. So even that alone was so hard for me. And then so once I began school, I didn't have a means to pay for it. I'm under the AB 540, so like that was just really hard for me. And so at that time, I was only to get 2 classes that my parents were able to afford. So so like that was just very super disappointing. And that was one struggle, finding the all the possibilities and scholarships and the money for it. And then the other struggle was just like I struggle a lot with my writing. I'm not a very good writer. For the applications of the MSW program, like I did my essay like more than 5 times, and I still felt that it wasn't well enough. So that has been another of my struggles. And then also in my family, I grew up with my oldest brother. He was a drug addict. So being in the environment like that was definitely very hard for my mother and me. I was always the one there that gave her the support, and I'm one of the youngest in the family. So growing up and seeing her like that, like really made me wonder, well, why can my brother just stop using drugs, or why does he always have to behave like that? Like, why? Like, I didn't understand why. So I think unconsciously the experience, like all that I saw my mom, all that I saw her going through, and then like all that I saw also to my brother and all the experiences that he had, unconsciously like shaped me to be in this field. Also that, and then just like in my family in general, there's a lot of trauma with my aunts and uncles. There's a lot of separations from affairs. There's a lot of child abuse and partner violence. So I think just like being in an area like that, like all around me, was just like, I need to go into this field to change, to bring more awareness, not only to myself, but to my family as well. So I think a lot of that had to do to the reason why I'm in this field now. And then also just with my friends too, like a lot of my friends come from families who are separated, or have some trauma. So like seeing that also in my friends has been the motivation to why I would like to change and bring the awareness.
Thank you for those answers. Fourth question. As a professional, how have you seen culture and language influence the care and services of your field? So I can repeat that. So as a professional, how have you seen culture and language influence the care and services in your field?
I would say in public health, it's very beneficial to be bilingual or trilingual, multilingual, because you are dealing with large groups of people. And if you're trying to focus on one population, but you don't know or speak their language, a lot of the times in public health, we are dealing with underrepresented, like impoverished communities. So a lot of them are immigrants. If you don't speak their language, then of course there's that barrier gap and language gap that can be beneficial if you're trying to promote some kind of health benefit promotion. I find that is a really big influence in my field. And that deals with culture as well. If that answers.
Do you have any specific examples of your own, like, that you've seen when you're out interning?
Well, let's just say if I do research and I find that there's a predominantly Hispanic population in Santa Ana or Anaheim, and the majority of these people are immigrants from Mexico, don't speak English. Don't speak English. If I don't know Spanish, how can I go out into the community and help them? I have to find like a translator. I have to find other ways to do it. It's just harder. And I can't get that interaction with them the way I would normally do it with English speaking populations. You know. I find that it's like a barrier and an influence to actually get closer to the population that you want to change. That makes sense?
In my field, English language learners, bilingual children, and children that speak other dialects, especially Black children, are overrepresented or underrepresented in special education. And it deals with a lot of the SOPs. You have to be culturally competent. There's a certain group that's like predominantly like in that profession. So when they assess their language, they don't really know if it's a language difference or an actual disorder. So because of that, children are being put into special education classes when they're not supposed to be there. And that impacts their education. They're supposed to, there's not a lot of bilingual speech language pathologists either. So you have to get interpreters, translators, and also for people who are deaf, you have to get sign for them. I know that professionals in this field, they have difficulty getting translators or interpreters, but you're supposed to have that to be able to provide the service. They're not supposed to pay for that. You're supposed to have access to translators and interpreters whenever you need them. So that's like some ways of seeing the cultural language influence services. So basically, you can't get full service to your clients if you don't have access to what you need to help them, and also them not being culturally competent, able to diagnose different dialects and languages.
Both answers make sense.
In my field, if you speak Spanish, it's like a super plus. All the clients that I have right now are mainly Spanish speaking. A lot of the jobs that I've had have required me to speak Spanish only because of the setting of the place. A lot of them are in Orange County, Santa Ana, and there is a lot of Hispanics in those areas. We do have some barriers too in terms of like the awareness of the parents and in terms of what their child has. So for example, a lot of the kids that I see come in with severe, it can either be like child abuse cases or the mental delays, but a lot of the parents are not aware of what's going on. They don't know like the red flags or the signs. So a lot of the clients that I see go like under like a lot of years of the abuse, whether it be in their homes or outside. And then a lot of that is due to not only the lack of resources in the community, but also the awareness of the education that they have to. A lot of the parents are not aware of the services, and also like the schools. I feel that the schools at times too, they're not culturally competent in terms of like if they have free services at school for the kids. They're sending the notes out in English to their homes when they know that in their homes, the only one who can read the papers are the kids, but they're not giving those papers to the parents. So a lot of that is going on in the agency where I'm at right now. And then also to being culturally competent, that is very important in our field. We undergo a whole semester, and they really like emphasize on us being aware of the differences of the individuals in the community, not only in the language, but also like be more empathetic in all the situations where they're at and all their experiences. So.
Next question. What advice would you give undergraduate students who are interested in your field?
I would say this for every major. Volunteer in a place where you feel you will be working at in the future. That way you have that hands-on experience. Oh, now that I'm actually here, this is what I like to do. Or you can actually notice like, wow, I'm actually going to be doing this when I thought I would be doing that. Maybe I should change majors, because I've noticed that a lot of students say, I want to do this. I want to go into social work. I want to go into nursing. That's my thing since I've been doing, that's my major. I've been wanting to be a nurse since I was 8 years old because of whatever reason. And then they go into the process of the whole nursing program. They get into the nursing program. They spend those 2 years. They get into the field and they're like, holy crap, this is not what I like at all. They spend all that time and they could have cut it and actually done something. So I find that volunteering wherever you feel like you're going to be at in the future is going to determine, yes, I really want to do that, or I don't. So that's what happened to me. My aunt is a social worker, and she told me since I was 16 years old, volunteer, because that's what you're going to do. So I volunteered at the hospital. I wanted to be an obstetrician. I wanted to deliver babies. And then when I actually volunteered, they wouldn't let me hold the babies. I had like a lot of restrictions. And then I saw my very first stillborn. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even think about that side of, I was thinking of all the glory, like, oh, I'm going to deliver babies, blah, blah. I didn't think about all the other stuff. So that made me like change. And then I realized, well, I actually like working in the ER. I like working on the other side of labor and delivery. I like the public health side after the baby's born. And that's when I came into public health. So I would say that for any major and every major. And then one more thing.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Doesn't matter what major you are, apply to the McNair Scholars Program. Erin's like, I know, right? Now it's very hard to say because there were some students from the Allied Health Academy and HCOP who did apply and didn't end up getting in the program. And so Erin and I have kind of discussed that. But if you really feel like you want a PhD and you need help funding, that's a pretty good source. Also, other sources on campus, just look around. Like there's a Sally Casanova Scholars Program. I can talk to you about that as well. But they help low-income, first-generation undergrads with funding to get their PhDs. It's like, no.
I'll also say volunteer, just so you can get that hands-on experience. Like when I was like, oh, I want to work with kids, then I volunteered, and I was just like, I don't like kids. Yeah, it was like, they take a lot of energy. So I would say volunteer, try to volunteer in different areas, just to get the experience. For speech language pathology, I would say it's important to like get to know your professors, to actually build a relationship with them. Research is important. So if you know a professor is doing research, ask them for help if they need help. So you can get that experience. Especially going to like the conviction for like ASHA is a big deal. Do the research that will help you, with your resume. Yeah, I feel like those are the main things to do as an undergrad.
So for me, also volunteer, but I wanted to really like emphasize like self-care. Like yes, volunteering is important and everything, but Also, like just taking care of yourselves. I know, like with all the work that we have and internships, like it gets very, very hard to like do everything all at once. But that's very important. And obviously, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not even gonna like go that far. So that's self-care, and then also just I like to do like a lot of things for myself in terms of like the self-love. I know like a lot of the times, well for me, there were times where I felt that I was not able to apply to grad school only because of my writing, or only because I was like, how am I going to pay for this? But if you're able to apply for any grants, any type of funding, please do so. Like that is super important. I was able to get all of my first year fees paid for all through the scholarships that I received this year. So if you have the opportunity to apply for any type of funding, please do so. It's super important. And don't forget self-care. It's also very important.
Thank you. I mean, we can't get enough of advice. So, I mean, we're open to hearing advice from you anytime, not even just now, but we love, like I said, having you as a resource. So, thank you. So, last question. What is a struggle that you faced, and how has that experience fueled you? So a struggle you faced, and how has it fueled you?
I would say as an undergrad, one major struggle I had was keeping up with my assignments, like time management. I was going all over the place and it was stressing me out. But actually it fueled me to kind of get my life in order. So just with time management, I remember once I got like a schedule down on paper, it seemed easier for me, and graduation seemed like it was getting closer and closer. So just marking things checked off actually fueled my passion for like, oh my God, okay, so I do need to finish this, I need to do this, I need to do this. But as a grad student, one major struggle that I have and I still have is actually meeting the professor during their office hours and asking for help, you know, because at the master's level, even as an undergrad, you feel like maybe the professor wants me to do this on my own, or like I feel kind of weird asking the professor, like, you know, is the professor going to say, weren't you paying attention in class? Like, why do I have to repeat myself? But that's really not the case. And what fuels me is graduating. Like I have to go to office hours if I need the help to graduate. So that helps.
You take time to think about it. Yeah, time.
I don't think it's just like one struggle, but I know that like when I started undergrad, I had like started working too. So that's my first time actually working and being a full-time student. And like the program is so competitive. So like I was just worried about my grades. Like I have to get A, I can't get anything less than A. And like I feel like it goes back to like the self-care. Like I had to go like call my mom had to call paramedics because like my heart was like, I don't know. But like it like fueled me to like put myself first. Self-care. Because I feel like, yeah, it's competitive, but like my health is worth more than like, you know, a degree. So I feel like that fueled me like for grad school, like going through all that during undergrad, I was like, okay, grad school, like I'm not gonna stress out as much, you know, I'm just gonna get like you know, there's no more competition. So yeah. And yeah. That happening in undergrad fueled me for grad school.
So I can relate to their struggles too, but I think my undergrad for me was just like keeping myself focused. I had a lot of distractions, both with family and at school with friends. So like learning how to exclude like everybody else and put your situations first. Like I had a lot of conflict at first with my family only because if they needed something or we had to go out somewhere, I was always like, I'm sorry, like I have homework and can't. And it got to a point where they were just like, oh my gosh, like you don't even want to be with us anymore. Like all you do is homework, and so like it was very hard to be like, well, you know, I have to put my school first, only because this is like what I'm here because of my sacrifice. So and then like you guys don't know how hard it is to do like all these papers and like all these readings, and then I've also worked my entire school year, so I also had to do that. So for me, one of the struggles for my undergrad was learning how to put all my situations first, and then my family's. Right now in my graduate school, there's a lot of struggles. So first off, I want to say that it's not that bad, okay? Like, don't be like scared by it. It's not bad. And the application process for the MSW program is not bad either. They're very nice people. So I came into the program like really freaked out only because I didn't know what to expect. But it's not that bad. Like you'll be totally fine. There are a lot of papers to do and a lot of writing, but it's totally doable. Like if you're not a procrastinator, you'll be fine. I'm not a procrastinator. I'm pretty good with the time management. So if you're able to do that, like, you'll be fine. I think the struggle right now for me is my writing. Like I'm still working on my writing, and I feel that I have to work harder than my peers. But it's just a learning process. So yeah, if you're afraid to apply, like don't be. It's not that scary because I thought it was really scary at first, and then I'm like the only one in my family too. So like I didn't know who to turn for any support. So it's not that bad. As it seems like it will be fun.
Well, that was the last question. I want to open it up to the audience. If you want to ask the panelists any follow-up questions that you personally just want to know, I jotted some notes down. So, but I want the students to start off the Q&A.
I have a question for Bernie. I've heard of the Laura's house. How does that, what kind of experience did you get there, and how does like being in there, what did you learn out of it? What outcome did you come out?
So they have the internship for the shelter house and then for the courthouse. I was at the courthouse, so there we went over the whole process of the intake for the restraining order, and then after that we prep the client, and we prep the client to tell her like what she had to say in court to get the restraining order. And then also like we were in court with her in the process. We helped her, like if the clients had to be in a shelter, we also helped them with that. If they needed some employment, we also did that. If they needed any type like of food or any money like that, we also like had that for them. In terms of what I learned a lot about the discrepancies there is in the legal system. There is like a lot of discrepancies, and then pretty much like when it comes to the restraining order, it's more of like he said, she said type of thing. So it's very difficult for them to get the restraining order. So like we had to like really prep them. Like this is what like you have to say and prove so that you're were able to get the restraining order. But yeah, it's a good experience.
Very good.
Do you want to ask an individual panelist again, or you could ask a question for all of them?
So I got a question. If you can answer, for everyone. You mentioned self-care, right? What are the ways you do that?
So I do meditation. I do lots of meditation. That's like my number one. I love getting my nails done. I do that like very often. Those hand massages are just amazing. Those two, and then my third one that I love to do is reading. I like to read books about, well, I don't know if this is like self-care, but to me it is, but I do like a lot of the child abuse reading only because that's like, it validates why I'm in the field. So like it reminds me of my why. Those are my top three.
I haven't really been practicing that. Listen, watching TV is one of them. I used to meditate, but been so busy. But that's what I do. I like to do yoga stretches in the morning. I like to go out in nature, so museums or anywhere, just to go out somewhere outside because I'm always in the house. So that's good.
I love to eat. John already knows, right?
Yes.
I love to go camping. I try to go camping as often as I can. I love to go to the movies with my kids. I need to practice actual self-care more since I have very limited time. But when I am home alone, I like to clean up because that's a de-stressor for me. And I always tell people, even John, he's in my cohort, he knows that if I bring all kinds of food into class one day, oh, Rosie's really stressed out. Mm-hmm. And if I am deep cleaning the MPH lounge, oh, Rosie's really pissed off. So that actually helps de-stress me a lot. I just need to do the more personal, take care of Rosie side.
Thank you.
We have a question for Rosie. So for right now, you're in the third year?
Second year.
Oh, because
Right, because of my daughter's cancer diagnosis, I had to postpone graduation 1 year.
Yeah. How does that affect? Because isn't it a cohort system?
It is. So this is actually my last semester with my cohort. Mm-hmm. And so next semester they will be doing their internship while I will be taking the class that I was supposed to take last spring when she was diagnosed. And then next fall, I don't have any core classes because I already finished them this semester. So I get the opportunity to do my internship a little early. I'm an exception because of my daughter. We don't know if she'll be in the hospital or if, God forbid, anything happens to her or anything. So I have to do everything before everyone else. So that's the reason why.
When I went to the grad school program, the overview, I learned about the cohort system and how certain classes are only available certain semesters. So I just wanted to
Right, and that's actually one big difference between being an undergrad and a grad school. As an undergrad, you're stuck with a lot of people and you just go from semester to semester. Sometimes you see the same people, sometimes you don't. In grad school, you're with the same small group of people every semester, and they take the exact same classes with you, and you just form a family bond with them. It's great. It's so helpful that everyone is taking the same classes. You're you stress and you cry with each other, you're happy, you're sad, and you're like, okay, I'm stuck with you for 2 years, but I still love you, Depends on the day, depends on the time of the yeah, so it helps a lot. Yeah, so even as a grad student, like as an undergrad, you see your professors and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. But as a grad student, you feel like you're not necessarily a peer with your professors, but you have like more of a friendly relationship with them. So that helps a lot too. They're more like on your level, whereas an undergrad, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. So that helps a lot in the grad program. So you know that you're in a whole new level, like you're more mature in the grad program because you're individualized.
I'm really interested in how, since you went to Catholic years,
Mm-hmm.
and then you jumped to Catholic Fullerton for your master's. So then, how did you connect to professors and their research, and how to, find?
Well, because I was a scholar student, I kind of found ways doing it. But with other students, like when you're right before you apply to graduate programs, you have to, I guess, stalk or kind of like look at professors online to see like, oh, I want to do research with this person because this person has done this in their life. These are going to be my future professors. Let me just kind of get a feel of what they like, and that kind of helps a lot.
Did you reach out to them, or?
Yes, you reach out to them, you kind of befriend them so that when it comes time to apply to the program, you can mention these professors in your essay and say, hey, I've been in contact with Professor X for 2 months already. And because graduate programs are much smaller, the graduate acceptance committees, or what do you call them? The admissions committees, they know these professors, so they will come up to the professor and say, hey, do you know this student, whatever your name is? And they'll say, oh yeah, they seem like they have potential because they've come up to me and they've been looking at my research, so because they know you in that level, that kind of helps a lot with your acceptance, kind of. Yeah, definitely keep in contact with them. And if sometimes professors, they are very, very busy. So if they don't get in contact with you within like the next week or 2 weeks, just keep emailing them. And then sometimes they're not here during the summer. So it's best to do it like one semester before. So if you're applying, or if you need to submit grad school applications in the fall, by mid-spring of that previous, one semester before, you need to have already contacted the professor, because if you do it in the summer, they're not going to be here. They're people too. They have families. They want to go on vacation, and that way, it does help.
I have like 10 questions. Any other questions? I don't really have tons of questions, but I have. One is kind of along those lines of like making sure that you do your research for a particular program. Why did you want to attend the program that you're currently attending? And what is your favorite thing about grad school?
Yeah, I would say I'm going to start with my favorite things of grad school. It's that you have that closeness with your cohort. I like that a lot because we do help each other, and it makes grad school process like so much easier. I chose this program because my #1 program was at Oregon State. Obviously, I couldn't go to Oregon State. This was my #1 university here in the United States, or in California. Hello, in California. I researched some professors and I got in contact with some. I was really, I had gotten to know Dr. Tandrasiri really well, and she knew me, so that helped a lot. And she kind of went through the whole grad school process with me. I went to her office, and so it kind of helped boost my passion for coming here. So by the time I actually came here, I was like, okay, I'm not worried about it anymore.
This program, so I was an undergrad, so coming to grad school, already knowing the professors and having a relationship with them, that was a big problem. Come here and knowing people in the graduate program and talking to them about how the program works also helped me. Favorite thing.
I know it would be hard to think about it, like right before finals, but hopefully there's something that you've enjoyed so far in your first semester.
I guess, let's see. Okay, not having as many tests. I like that. Yeah, a few classes. I have more like free time if I manage everything. That was a good thing. It's mostly like projects. So yeah, not having as many tests, having to like study like for all these tests like in undergrad. So I think that's a good thing.
For me, it's also been the test. I think I've only had like one exam the whole semester, which is nice. Let's see, another thing, I don't know, I guess, well, my cohort is big. There's like, I think there's like about 90 students in the cohort. So it's pretty big. So we're not like that close, but there are some students that I have for our like almost all my classes, and we are pretty close. Another thing that I like, it's just that I'm learning a lot. Like it's so interesting to me, and also like the expectations. Like I feel good in a way that I'm being challenged a lot, but also like I'm struggling. But I do like it. So that's a plus too. And then why this program? Well, first, it's just at home. I'm like 20 minutes from here, so it was close by, but also like I review the professors too and the research. And so like a lot of the professors in the MSW program do research on child abuse and partner violence, and that's like, it's like it's like, how do I say it? Like, not my passion, but that's what I'm interested in. So like reading that was like, wow, like this is pretty cool. I would like to be in those classes and see like how they expound on the research. I'm gonna start working with some professors in the research next semester, so I'm looking forward to that. And also like I was able to get more all the fees paid for here, so I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get that opportunity somewhere else. So I studied here also because of that.
Do you have more? Do
you have it?
I do. I have one. So I was jotting notes down. So as far as continuing onto more education, do you see yourself doing that? And would it benefit your specific trajectory if you did or not?
Yeah, I've mentioned that I'm aiming for my PhD in public health. That's always been my goal as even as an undergrad. So what was
how would you use it to your a career in your trajectory?
Ultimately, I want to do everything. So I want to be a professor during nighttime, but during the daytime, during my day job, I want to go out to the community slap parents around and say, hey, vaccinate kids. Yeah.
No. I've been going to school like non-stop since high school, so that's a no for me. But we do continuing education as a speech language certificate, so we always have to learn, always. Basically, to get more education, you have to learn like a set of skills. So it's not really like getting PhD to do research. So like, when we're working in medical setting, you know, we need to learn how to like feed, so like endoscopy, like using like the little camera that goes on your throat and stuff. Like basically just building on your skills so you can be more experienced and you know, be an expert. But as far as like doing research, I don't think I can do a PhD.
For me, I do want to go into a PhD program, but I'm due for a break. I've also been in school like nonstop. I've been in school since I was 17. Like I'm just tired of school already. But I do want to go on to my PhD. I do want to take a break though. I just found out that I can get my license to open up my own shelter home while I'm in the program still. So I'm going to do that first, and then do that route first, and then come back to school and do my PhD program. I also want to like do everything. I want to be a professor and have my private practice on the side. So a PhD in what, I'm not sure yet. I do like to teach, but that's not really like my passion. So it's still like up in the air.
So, I know, Rosie, you were in McNair, and so like that's kind of Kiana was part of our very first cohort, did the internship, did the pre-matriculation program. Bernice did the pre-matriculation program, and I'm not sure what other programs you're involved with, but in each of your experiences, you participated in some kind of additional educational training program for first generation college students. What was the most helpful thing you got out of that? And were you ever thinking like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore? If so, what kept you to persist?
Sorry, what was the question? It's like trying to think.
The first part of that was what was the most helpful part of the programs that you've been in? And was there ever any time when you're, because it's an optional thing, right? Like you do not need to be in McNair to get your degree, right? You did not have to spend your summer nights with us for 4 weeks. Like if there was a time when you felt like giving up, like what convinced you to just like stick with it?
Gosh, I think the main thing that kept me in the program was the funding, because we could always use extra funding as undergrads. But also because it really did prepare me for grad school. So with the programs, it helped me approach professors in grad school and say, hey, I want to do this when I go to grad school. They also help with the statement of purpose and everything that you would necessarily be kind of stressed out about when it's your last year, you're applying to grad school, you're doing this on top of school. You have these programs that help you along the way. So that's very helpful. Like they even help with GRE prep and everything. So that's helpful. But there were honestly a lot of times, especially in the McNair program, where I just wanted to just quit. I was so burned out. I felt like I didn't have support from some of the staff because of just other reasons. And I just remember having breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. But then I realized like screw these people. Like, I got in here for myself. Like, thanks for your funding, but I could take it from here now, you know? Like, so yeah, it helped me a lot. Like, of course, my self-motivation, my drive for PhD, like, no one is going to get my degree. Everyone's trying to block me from getting there. I'm going to get my degree whether you want me to or not. So that was, you know, even in those kind of programs, you know, facing these kinds of challenges on top of all the academic and personal life and this, like, it could be overwhelming, but at the same time, it's helpful too. So in the long run, when I look back at it, I thought, wow, like, I was really stressed out, but look at what they've done to help me in the long run. You know, there are people in my cohort who don't even know what an article is. They don't know how to search an article. They don't know APA formatting. And it's like, I learned this in my junior year. So that is a great advantage of these programs.
Yeah, it was really helpful. What motivated me was that if I weren't a part of allied health, like, I would haven't applied to grad school because I didn't even like know the 3 steps. So I would just like gave up. It was pretty helpful, like all the programs. It helped me with like everything that I needed instead of just like going to school and going home. Like, it was like a lot, like working, then going to class and having to study, then going to workshops and everything. It was a lot, but I think it was worth it because like where I'm at now. But yeah, like, it helped me with everything. What was the other part? Well, I answer everything.
What did you like and what challenges?
Yeah, was there anything that was like particularly helpful?
I think everything was helpful. Yeah.
For me, like, being a first generation, and to attend school with my family, like, obviously I didn't know, like, what to do. And like the whole application process for grad school too, I didn't know what to expect. And then the pre-matriculation program, like, they teach you like step to step, like how to find articles, how to write a scientific format, like everything is just so helpful. Like, it's a lot, but like it's good information though. Like, it's not like it's not overwhelming, but it's super useful information. Like, I got a lot from it, and I'm still using like a lot of the information that we used then. So also just like the support, like that was big. Like, just knowing that there were people there for you, you know, like that was just like, I think for me that was like the best thing that I took out from that, like that I'm not alone and I'm not the only one in the struggle. Challenges, I don't think I had any. Well, the whole program was challenging, you know, but it wasn't really like a big struggle or anything. I don't really have any complaints. It was like useful information for sure. I do want to say before I forget, for those of you who applied to the MSW program, I do have the questions that were asked in the interview. It's just, you can see the past, so if you guys are going to apply, there's my email I'm bringing, so email me and then I will send them to you guys if you would like.
So my question is, that I want to ask is, you talked about being culturally competent, and I guess tying in your own experiences. How do you see, how do you yourself want to practice being culturally competent? Like, how would you do that? Thank based on, I know you talked about like your own experiences, your background, your own traumas, people close to you and their traumas. How would you apply it to your career?
I think for me it's just being more empathetic. Like, I think what I've learned through that is like, we might have the same culture, but that doesn't mean that we have the same experience in the community or even just in the household. So I've learned just to be like very empathetic in my field, and also super, how would I say, patient, like just be there for them. Like, it's not about finding the resources a lot of the time. It's just being there for that person and just with no judgment, I guess. Just being there for them.
I agree. With public health, you do have to be culturally sensitive. And I know I make fun of parents who don't vaccinate their kids, but I also have to realize like they're not vaccinating for a reason. It's just my job to kind of bring that awareness to them and keep my personal judgments away from that as much as I can. But it's been a challenge, especially with my personality.
Yeah, same, just being empathetic. I know like in my field, like if we're working with someone that's culturally different, you're supposed to make an effort to like go out in the community and like try to get to learn that culture or like talk with someone and just get some insight and stuff. So along with the empathy and stuff, just making sure that you're always educated on those cultures so you can want to interact with them. And when you're assessing them, to make sure that the materials you use are culturally or specific for that culture, even linguistically and culturally.
Any more questions? Well, we all had opportunities, most of us, but if you think of something later on, their contact information is on that handout and they welcome it, like we mentioned. So let's give them another round of applause. We have just tokens of appreciation for coming. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you don't mind taking a group picture of us? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, so we have to stand up. Yeah. We need to stop.